Alright, what's going on, people? Ring Road Map here, and today we're gonna talk about Charlo versus Canelo pre-fight analysis. My take on it. This is probably the biggest fight since Crawford versus Spence. You know, this is the next big fight that we have, so it's a really good thing that it got materialized. Even though this is a smaller Charlo, I still think he's gonna put up a competitive fight. So let's get right into this. Now, the first one we're gonna see with Charlo, as I spoke about in my Charlo versus Castano pre-fight analysis years ago when they first fought, is that he's very susceptible to that right hand. Okay, so I want to show you guys some footage first so that we can see exactly how that looks like. So here's the first example here. You guys are gonna see that same lazy jab that he throws all the time. Well, it's not lazy, it's just that he's a little bit too slow to step back after he throws it. I think he doesn't really need to bring it back to guard, he just needs to step back a little bit earlier. And that's the key to really avoiding the overhand right if you are someone who likes to throw the jab a lot like Charlo. Okay, you're gonna see that same thing once again here. He's gonna throw that jab from the high guard position, and then the moment he pulls it back, it's a little too slow. So what I would recommend really for this one is that he should step back. He should not stay there because Canelo has a pretty quick overhand right, and so this is gonna be a dangerous punch for Charlo, and if he gets caught with one of those overhands, he might get stunned, especially with the heavier weight of Canelo, okay? Although he walks around big, but, you know, in fight night, most of the time that don't really matter. This is a weight that Canelo is more comfortable in, so I think it's gonna be just equal. You know, they're gonna be equal in terms of size. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna look at is gonna be the angled right hand, which forces his opponent to get on the back foot. As you can see here, Castano went from a squared stance and then he got bladed the moment he got hit with that angled right hand. Here's another one. Bam, right hand, and then he goes, or he circles, or he moves laterally right away to his left side, okay? And then, after that, his opponent was not able to catch up to him. So, let's see another example here. As you can see, he's gonna throw that angled right hand, but this time he's gonna throw it to the body of Castano. And then after that, he takes that side step right away. You know, and because of that, because he was able to punch at an angle, Castano was not able to follow him. So now, especially with Canelo being more flat-footed and being older, you know, I think this is going to be a useful tool. You got to utilize angles. You know, I think it's not, or Canelo did not look the same against a Ryder. It's not the same Canelo that fought Plant, okay? So if you guys are going to use the Canelo versus Plant fight as a blueprint for this fight, I don't think it makes a lot of sense, because the Canelo that fought Plant was a lot better at cutting off the ring. He was a lot better at picking his punches, so that's a pretty bad fight to really look at. I think you should look more at the Ryder fight to get an accurate picture of what Canelo looks like now, okay? So the next thing we're gonna look at is gonna be the bending smother. What he does here, he bends at the waist, and then he goes right away for the body of his opponent. He tries to body up, he tries to tie up, especially when his opponent is coming forward. And the great thing about that is that it breaks your opponent's pressure, and at the same time, you give yourself, or you buy yourself some time to think of what you're gonna do next, alright? So while you're in that smother, you can sneak in some inside punches. With Canelo pressing forward, I think this is gonna be a useful tool, but at the same time, it's kind of a dangerous habit, because when you bend down at the waist like this, alright, I'll show it to you. When you bend down at the waist like this, your opponent can get to time you with that chopping right, and that's certainly what we saw with the Caleb Plant fight. You know, Caleb liked to blade a lot on his stance, and Canelo was able to throw some shots to the head, although he had more success to the body. So even if Canelo does not land that chopping right or that overhand right to the head of Charlo, when he does this bend and smother, he can throw some to the body, and that's still gonna make, or that's still gonna put or cause a lot of damage towards Charlo, okay? So in addition to the angled straight right hand or chopping right, he also has, or no, this is not actually Charlo. This is on the side of Castano. Castano had the rear hook, which sneaked through the guard of Charlo. Now this is again a dangerous punch for Charlo, because Canelo's right hook is also one of his main weapons, okay? So if he gets to sneak through the guard of Charlo, if Charlo does not keep that guard tight, then one of these shots can come through, and we're not really sure how Charlo can take the punch of Canelo right now. So this is going to be an exciting fight. If he can take the power of Canelo, how will Canelo adjust? And if he cannot take the punch of Canelo, how will Charlo adjust? That's the main question here that we have to look at, because skill-wise, I think Charlo has the ability to probably outbox Canelo. Okay, so the next thing we'll see now is one of his main weapons, which is the check hook. So when his opponent comes in wildly with that right hand, he steps back or he stays planted, and then he throws that check left hook. That he throws it either from a planted position or he throws it while stepping back. So here's one example right here. He's gonna sit down very heavily on that front leg, and then he's gonna throw that check hook. So for a guy who overcommits on the right hand, and for a guy who likes to square up with his upper body, I think this is going to be a useful tool for Canelo. The main question here really is, does Charlo have enough pop to hurt Canelo at that weight? Okay, does the power of Charlo, or is the power of Charlo enough to keep Canelo from being careless and from being ruthless with him? So that's the main question here. Here's another example of that. Planting on the front foot, bam, throws that check hook. And he was able to have a lot of success with that because Castaño did not really pull it back to guard. And the same thing goes for Canelo, because Canelo follows through with that right hand very heavily, and so he doesn't really bring it back to guard quickly. Now here's my prediction for this fight, alright? I am rooting for Charlo, to be honest with you guys. I'm rooting for Charlo. I think he can pull the upset. He has the skills to pull the upset. But again, Canelo always has that puncher's chance, and to me, if we see the Canelo that fought Plant at least, this is gonna be a knockout for Canelo. But if we see the Canelo that fought Ryder, then I think this is gonna be a decision win for the younger Jermell Charlo and for the underdog Jermell Charlo. So what am I gonna bet on? I still don't know, but I am really rooting for Charlo. I hope he pulls it off, and then, you know, the Crawford fight can follow afterwards. But that's my prediction for this fight. I'm going for Charlo via decision. You guys may not agree. I'm not really sure about this prediction either, but I think he's got the skills. If he can take the punch of Canelo, if he can handle the power of Canelo, and if he keeps Canelo on the back foot, this is gonna be a long night for Canelo, especially now that, you know, I don't know what the fuck happened to the combination puncher Canelo. What the fuck happened to that? Why is the Canelo today only relying on one blow? I think that's gonna be his main downfall here. Now, don't get me wrong. If he lands one good shot on Charlo, and Charlo has weight issues, and Charlo has a bad weight cut process ahead of this fight, then, you know, maybe Charlo can get hurt. But I think Charlo's gonna go in there, and he's gonna pull off the upset decision. So that was it. I'll see you guys soon. That's my prediction for this fight, and peace out. Join my Patreon if you want to. Subscribe if you're new.